Welcome back everyone, Mariah Monetize here, and in today's video we're going to be doing a few things, going over news for just a minute or so, then we're going to get into the price of Bitcoin to see where the price is headed. And I zoomed out and looked at the charts and wow, there's a big gap on this chart where there is absolutely no support, where things could get absolutely terrible. And then I'm also going to be doing something that I typically don't do. So I came across this video on YouTube, and it's basically from the roommates. They're talking to some girls from OnlyFans, and I typically don't watch a video and get frustrated, but this particular video made me frustrated, and it made me think about business in general, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are someone that is an investor. I thought that some lessons that were spoken about in this particular video could really just apply to the kind of the current state of the market and just the flow of making money, and just the kind of the concept of it's a lot easier to make $1 million than it is to keep $1 million. So we're going to be kind of talking about that particular subject today. So a couple quick news things to go over. An apartment in Portugal legally bought with Bitcoin without conversion to fiat. It must have been a pretty small house because I think it was only sold for about 3 Bitcoin or so. I'm not super familiar with Portugal real estate, but I do know that it tends to be on the lower end in comparison to the United States. So Dogecoin is down 82% from the all-time high. And what I can say about this particularly is that, there's some of you that are gonna absolutely hate shitcoins by the end of this. Many of you might even currently be thinking, wow, I wish I had just Bitcoin and Ethereum and didn't have all of these other coins. So everyone needs to pretty much experience that at least one time when it comes to investing in cryptocurrency. I've been there, right? I had a ton of altcoins, and the whole time I was thinking, I'd rather just have mostly Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that's where my portfolio has transitioned to. Oh, you know what we're also gonna go over today? So I sold off $100,000 of crypto back in March. The timing wasn't necessarily great, but what I'm going to be showing you today is the prices that I sold at, and if I bought back today, if I'd be getting in either above, at, or below the prices that I sold at. So that'll be a fun thing to look at there. This was just not really news, but funny. Offered the waiter 100% tip in Bitcoin, he declined. We are so early, and that is absolutely true. What else do we got going on here? Not a ton of things here in the cryptocurrency space. It's been a very quiet Sunday afternoon, but the price, yeah, that's enough. So this right here is the weekly chart. I do anticipate to see Bitcoin go down to this range, at least about $28,000. But what's really unfortunate about this particular chart, when I kind of zoomed out a little bit, was the lack of support between $20,000, okay, and about $28,000. There is basically no support there. And when I consider support, I consider not just the price, but I consider the amount of time that Bitcoin has spent in that range. And when you look at this chart here, you can see that Bitcoin has spent very, very little time in between the range of the low, about $20,000 and $28,000. So, we want basically Bitcoin to have a slow grind upwards and build support. Support is built over time. And when Bitcoin runs too quickly, then it puts itself in a position where there's just no support that's being built, and the price could really just crash in those ranges. And so that is particularly why Ethereum was kind of acting more mature a few months back. And by mature, I mean it was kind of having a slow grind upward. And actually what you'll be able to see from me selling off some of my crypto is that Ethereum actually has not hit the lows of that day that I sold back in March. So this is here the daily chart on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is sitting at about $34,500. It's hitting these lows from January of earlier this year. So just something to kind of take into consideration there. Next kind of support would be over here at about 31.3, so kind of keep an eye there. And some people are calling for $13,000 Bitcoin. This is all I gotta say. Be prepared for all scenarios. What am I doing right now? I'm taking the time to educate myself more. I'm taking the time to kind of bring my portfolio together, to get things better organized, to just get everything organized so that I can deploy funds in the crypto space when I believe the time is right. So this is the thing, I'm gonna feel most confident getting in probably when it comes to the daily chart. And it's when the daily chart sees that crossover between with that green crossing over the red. And so what could possibly happen in that particular scenario is that I don't get the bottom. I might get like $5,000 above the bottom, but I'm okay with that because I really don't want to be sitting in a losing position with the new funds that I'm going to be adding to my portfolio. And I still haven't decided yet, but I'm leaning more towards possibly short-term positions versus long-term positions. And I say short-term because I will be putting a stop loss, maybe like a 6% stop loss on those particular entry points. So let's see if there's like any hope here. So we've just been grinding down for hours now, right? So since like May 4th, just down. I mean, we are probably gonna see a little bit of relief some point. I mean, I don't know when that's coming, but we're definitely overdue for at least a little bit of a bump in the market. I'm not saying anything substantial, but we're definitely overdue for that. But not even the hourly chart is giving us any terms of hope here. So really curious to see how traditional markets open up tomorrow, as well as Bitcoin. So like I said, I'm staying patient, kind of gathering all of my stable coins and my fiat to deploy when I believe the time is right, but definitely taking into consideration putting a stop loss and protecting myself from the downside. So actually, before we get into this OnlyFans video, let's go ahead and back up a little bit. This right here is what I sold back, I think that was like March. Let me just double check. So Bitcoin was 34.9 when I sold. I'm pretty sure that was in March, but let me go ahead and just double check here. I think it was this candle right here. Yeah, this day. Oh no, maybe February. Maybe like February 24th is, I believe, when I sold. So I sold off. What you can see here on the left-hand side is obviously the coin. The first is the price that I sold at, and the second is about what the price is now. And then this column over here is, the column on the right is the quantity that I sold. And this pretty much accounts for like the majority of everything that I sold off that day. So you can see here that I sold 0.81 of a Bitcoin. And the problem was I wanted to sell more altcoins, but I still had some accounts that I wasn't able to log in yet because of the SIM swap that I experienced. So I sold 0.81 of a Bitcoin at 34.9. Now it's 34.5, so I could buy back at a better price. Link, I sold off almost 700 Link at $11.64. I can now buy that back for $10.22. Algo, I sold at 70 cents. Had 703 of those, small order. That Algo actually has not dropped below that price. Algo is currently sitting at about 73 cents. DOT, I sold over 2,200 DOT, that was a pretty big one, at $14.17. I can now buy back at $13.52. ADA, I sold off at 75 cents. I could actually buy it back today for 75 cents. Ethereum, I sold off at 23.49 here, as well as 23.71. And so Ethereum actually still would have to pull back quite a bit for me to be able to get in at a lower price. It's currently sitting at about $2,555. And then you can see here XTZ, I sold off at $2.60 and it's currently sitting at $2.59. So I can get it just below what I sold off as. So the majority of those, I have a better opportunity to get in. I mean, I think we're going to see a little bit of a bump in the price. I think we're going to see more of a pullback. I'm looking for capitulation. In my opinion, this really is not capitulation, at least because we need to bounce upward, right, to know that we're in capitulation. And for me, I think that bounce is going to be very severe, very, very hard. It's going to be a very massive dip, and then it's going to bounce off of that. But let's see from the percentage perspective how much Bitcoin has dropped. So Bitcoin has dropped 15% since the 4th. So in four days, Bitcoin has dropped 15%, which is obviously significant, but I'm looking for ultimately a bounce, okay? I'm looking for a bit more, a bounce, because we're still declining, okay? The low of today's candle came in at 33,701. Okay, so I pretty much went over everything. Last thing to get to is this whole OnlyFans thing, and I just was like, I found myself to be frustrated watching this video because I felt like this guy was like really targeting people that are on OnlyFans. I watched a few of the roommates' videos, but what I can say is I've typically been kind of turned off by them because I feel like he kind of has like this self-righteous tone, or one of the guys on here. I guess there's like multiple guys. I only remember there being one guy previously. So kind of has like this self-righteous tone that's like not very humble, that's a bit of a turnoff. So I've watched like a couple of the videos here and there because they come up as like recommended, but this one, it caught my attention because obviously it has a ton of views, has over 1.2 million views. And I honestly, for me, I have an obligation to learn as much as I can about making money online because my name is Mariah Monetize, right? Like I gotta learn. And one of the ways that people are making a ton of money online is obviously by OnlyFans. I'm just talking about the facts. I'm not talking about the moral, ethical side of that. I'm removing that from the situation. And for me, I'm someone that is just like, listen, like life is complicated. Like I try to just worry about myself and not get into other people's business. This guy seems like very triggered. And then at the end of the video, which we probably won't even get to that part, he starts talking about peace and like being in a peaceful relationship and being around peaceful people. But honestly, he doesn't show much peace throughout this video. So gonna play a little bit of it and then I'll talk.
Taught me the ropes on how to like be able to grow your OnlyFans, but you could really like, I know it's hard from the outside looking in, but you could really make it into like a career that could really take care of all of your finances and be financially stable and free. It just depends on how much you invest into yourself, what kind of social media following you have.
No, I understand that. I understand that in regards to making money today. If I'm a 22-year-old woman and I want to make money today, it's common math since the beginning of time. Take your clothes off, people will give you money. But the problem is that in regards to the long run of life, that's not a sustainable model.
So there is this potential component of OnlyFans not being sustainable. But what I think he fails to mention, because he kind of just like really puts this massive emphasis on OnlyFans, is that there's a lot of businesses that are there's a lot of businesses in life that are kind of structured the same way. I mean, like nothing is guaranteed if you want to work for yourself, if you want to be self-employed, if you want to be an entrepreneur, like there's absolutely nothing guaranteed. Well, in general, nothing in life is actually guaranteed. I don't care like what route that you take, what degree you get, what job you want to have in life. In my opinion, nothing is ever guaranteed. And so he really like focuses on the short-term aspect of OnlyFans. And he kind of talks about like, for me, I'm thinking, okay, so yeah, these girls can make a ton of money on OnlyFans, but they can build products, they can build businesses around it that last longer than their presence on OnlyFans, right? Or they can make invest in other businesses. There's so many different things that they could do around that.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Would you say the same thing about girls that are in like the nightlife industry? I'm not saying strippers, I'm saying like bartenders, servers, nightclub waitresses, bottle girls, like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Would you say the same thing, like that they're, you know, because they're making fast money, whatever, but what if they take it, they flip it, and they do things?
And I love that point, but we have to ask ourselves an honest question. How many people are real life entrepreneurs? And so to me, it kind of
is like the real life entrepreneur's place. This is something that has been constant when it comes to the entrepreneur space that drives me nuts. It's like, I'm a real entrepreneur and you're like a fake entrepreneur. First of all, I don't really care what everyone else is doing. I'm gonna play my own game. I'm gonna stay in my own lane. And so the fact of like, are you really an entrepreneur? Are you like a wantrepreneur? Like that whole wantrepreneur thing. It's like, why do we have to get so competitive in the space? Like, who really cares what everyone else is doing? Why don't you just focus on your own thing?
Offends me, and not saying anyone here is doing it, when certain people act like they're entrepreneurs when they're not. A lot of people who are entrepreneurs understand that it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a long go.
Yeah. Really understand the whole, like I said, back to the competition thing. He's like, people think they're entrepreneurs, but they're really not an entrepreneur. It's like, is there some committee that like gives people stamp of approval? Like, you are an official entrepreneur.
So you're not gonna be 22 years old, make money, and then all of a sudden have that money for the rest of your life. You're probably gonna lose it over and over, and you have to do so many things.
Yeah, but that's how all businesses work. Like, think about someone who became a real estate agent during like, you know, I don't know, maybe like 2005, right? They were selling houses for a ton of money, and then everything plummeted. It's like, there's people selling real estate, and they probably made a ton of money, potentially lost it all. I know people that invest in a ton of properties, lost all of the property. So it's not like this is just an OnlyFans thing. There's a lot of businesses, and obviously like with real estate, people are always buying houses, but it's volatile, right? There's good times, there's bad times. For example, someone that sold me some used cars lately, they had sold like 80 something cars last year. And I thought to myself, this kind of reminds me of like when people were selling a ton of houses, you know, like right before the 2008 crisis. And the thought crossed my mind, this income for him is not going to last forever. Like the price of cars is not going to continue increasing forever. The demand for used cars is not going to continue increasing forever. And so what I want to bring together on this particular point is the fact that you should really, no matter how much you make, whether it comes to cryptocurrency, other investments, being an entrepreneur, I have never spent my money as if that same income was going to last forever. This is the thing. I don't want to ever have to go out and get a real job, okay? So I spend according to that particular plan. Like I've never gone out and got a fancy car. Like the only time I got a nice car was I paid it off full and it was gonna be used to basically create income for my car rental business. Sure, could I be out there paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month for rent and live in a way nicer place? Yeah, absolutely, but my place is perfect for me and I pay $1,000 a month. Could I be out there buying like super nice jewelry and handbags and clothes? Yes, absolutely. But I choose to spend my money in other areas that I feel like I'll grow in a different way, a different dynamic, and that's travel. And so I've never really spent in a correlation to like what my actual net worth is, because I think that's how you can really get caught up in the wrong direction and have a really hard time. Like I have definitely like been so clear with myself about this. Like, can I afford to get first class every single time I fly? Yes. But there's a few things that I want to delay in my life because I don't want to give myself all nice things at once. I try to like delay nice things in a sense. And also like that is a lifestyle to maintain. And like, although I can afford it, probably for the rest of my life, it's something that I really don't want to do because, listen, I'm still gonna get to the same destination. I could save that money. I can invest it in other areas. Like, I wanna slowly give myself nice things. I'm also young. I wanna prepare for the future. And I know that now is a critical time to stack Satoshis, right? It all comes back to that. So no matter if you're on OnlyFans or real estate or selling used cars, or maybe you're selling products on Amazon, never expect, like let's say for example, you know, you hit $50,000 a month in sales. Tell yourself, I am not necessarily going to hit that the next month or the next month or the next month. This could be the top and you have to prepare for all scenarios. So hope you enjoyed this video. That's all that I have for you today. As always, go out there and create a life that you love. That's actually for my other YouTube channel. So create a life that you love, number one. Number two, create a portfolio that you love.